Well, good evening. Yes, it is CFN Live yet again on another Monday. It is the 27th of January, and depending on where you are in this country, you're either dealing with warmer temperatures than normal, or perhaps you're where we are, which is the wind capital of Canada right now. I can't get over the winds we're having. It's a good segue actually to some of the stuff that we're going to be talking tonight, but I will say this. There is lots going on tonight's show. We got, of course, Big Jim coming up very shortly. We got Lawrence, and we got Jay Barnucz with a special guest. So lots going on tonight. We're going to be getting to a whole bunch of topics. As it is Monday, it is a Monster Monday CFN feature each and every week on CFN, and there's been some great posts so far. One that I definitely want to share you, only because I did have the pleasure of fishing this body of water. It's the Bay de Saguenay. And it is a tidal water system, and the fluctuation in water is like, I can go on and on about this place. There is a mystique to it. If you ever get a chance to go out and enjoy it, please don't pass up that opportunity, because it truly is a unique experience that I think every angler, whether you like ice fishing or not, you should experience, simply because you're never going to fish like this ever again. But this is like a unicorn. You will catch these fish. If you do fish there, your entire lifetime, you might catch one of these. But when you do, to have it this size is very rare.
Recule. Garde. Au milieu.
Il est là.
Ah, je le vois pas.
Eh, qui est gros! Il est là!
Oh mon Dieu, lâchez-les pas! Allez les gars!
Incredible catch. Something that those anglers will be talking about for a very, very long time. But that is an Atlantic run halibut. Unique, I would say, to just saltwater, but unique to the Atlantic Ocean, simply because you don't see a lot of those being caught. You see them more on the Pacific side. They're a lot readily more available in those waters, but they do exist, and every once in a while they will move up based on tide, and those who fish the Bay de Saguenay will sometimes have the opportunity to hook into something like that, and that is truly unique, I tell you. I can't imagine being any one of those people around that hole watching that thing come to the surface. Like watching a dinosaur. I don't even know how old a fish that would be, but the fact that it looked well over 120 pounds would suggest that that is getting close to a 50 to 60-year-old fish. Again, just a guess. Rob, nice to have you with us. Thanks again for all your support. Stephen as well. Always a pleasure, my friend. Shane, I'm going to be contacting you right after this, because I have a unique opportunity for you. Mark Wolf, how you doing, my friend? Nice to see you. Yes, hope you've been able to get out. Yes, absolutely. We're actually going to talk about that momentarily. Kevin, nice to see you as well, from Manitoba. Always a pleasure to have the Lowen family with us. Lloyd, can't say enough. Look at this. I think we have more Western folks on tonight than we do Eastern. There you go. I love it. Richard's in the house. Thanks so much, Richard. We do have lots to talk about in regards to swag, so we'll be getting to that. Eve, always a pleasure to have you as well. Adrian, great to finally meet you in person. We'll be getting to all of the feedback and things that happened at the Niagara Fishing Tackle Swap. I think it was a successful event, to say the least. Great to see all of you grassroots producers of some incredible tackle. And Adrian handed over a whack of stuff. And if you have seen some of Adrian's stuff, and I have actually some of it here, he makes some incredible worm harnesses that I will say, those who are going to be participating in the CFN Fish Off, our various meet and greets, you're going to have the pleasure of taking home some of Adrian's products. And I want to thank Adrian, Ugly Boys Baits, and anybody else who sponsors stuff like that, so that our community can enjoy your product, but also enjoy fishing along with it. So big shout out to you, Adrian. Corey, West Coast again. How you doing, Corey? You are always a staple here every Monday. Joe Vitani's in the house. Nice to see you, my friend. Terry Snide Riders with us. Yeah, baby. Nice to see you. Dean Howard's in the house. Steve Shaw is coordinating everything from behind the scenes. It's nice to have you, Steve, as always, my friend. Ed McKenzie's here. Nice to see you, Ed. Always a pleasure. Brad Frost. There's a whole bunch of you. But anyway, needless to say, there's Brad, who I spent my Saturday with down at the Niagara Tackle Swap. We'll be getting into all that. Scott McCann. Oh, look at all you guys. Fantastic. Oh, wow. Hotbox Hots, yes. We've been trying to book a date. It's getting more and more difficult with the show season coming up. But hopefully we'll be able to get something together for us as CFNers for a meet and greet out on the hard water in Cooks Bay. I'd love to be able to do that. Kale, nice to see you as well. This is awesome. Great to see all of you folks. As always, each and every Monday night here on CFN, lots to talk about. I will sort of give you a rundown of what my weekend of hard water was. It was over as quick as it started, simply because the one thing that I do want to talk about tonight is about getting prepared. Sometimes the window of opportunity is only this big, and you have to rush to do something. And when you do, unfortunately, things happen. And unfortunately, some of those things are not good. They're not positive. I've been going up to this place for many, many years, and I've had to open a lock every single time that I do. And for the first time in 30 years, the key broke off in the lock. Never happened before. Couldn't get the ATV started. Never happened before. So when two things happen, I'm a firm believer that there's a third thing coming. And at that point, I was going to pack it in. But I will say I'm so glad that I didn't, because we enjoyed probably what was about 4 hours of ice fishing and Wagyu beef. You ever had Wagyu beef? Oh, I highly recommend. This is probably the nicest steak I've ever had. We had the luxury of watching the Philly and Washington game. We had the fish on closed circuit TV. We had the heat going. It's my son and his friend Alex, and we had a grand old time. Fish cooperated to a certain degree, so it was not a wasted trip. So again, there's getting prepared and also perseverance. I could have easily just gave up and turned around and walked away, but the youth in the party took over, and they desperately wanted to go. So, hey, you know what? Let's do it. Let's try it. And it wasn't a waste. It was actually a great time. We had a fantastic time. So really appreciated their company. And we're hopefully going to be doing it again really soon. One thing that we will be talking about, and I will say I'm going to play this leading up to Jim's intro. Actually, you know what? I'll play it after Jim's intro, because we got a lot of other things to talk about, just because I know Jim is dealing with probably the worst part of the wind right now, because it's blowing off Lake Ontario to the east. But it is, as everybody knows, our 10th anniversary. Congratulations to all who got us here and who continue to keep us here. And our 11th year is just around the corner. We are going to be commemorating that. In the meantime, we have some swag that our good buddy Richard Dunlop has done some fantastic work with, spreading the love, spreading our colors, and making sure that people can represent the community that is CFN. But because it is our 10th anniversary, we have something very, very cool. It is a commemorative jersey, something that we are very, very proud of, not because it looks absolutely kick-arse, but because of what this represents. This represents a combination of a lot of effort, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, time away from our families, and a dedication to sharing fishing information and the knowledge of fishing with those who need it, want it, and still are yearning for it. CFN is a community of like-minded anglers who continue to push forward in fostering the passion of angling, but also to teach the educational and ethical side of angling that goes along with it. So what I'd love, nothing more, is for you folks to purchase something that means so near and dear to all of our hearts, but the fact that every last penny, all of the proceeds that are taken in from the purchase of these jerseys are going to be going into our initiative here at CFN. It's brand new. It's called Derby on Wheels. Those of you who have kids, those of you who have a trailer park, maybe a marina, you want to hold an event that is basically a makeshift derby. Maybe it's a small little meet and greet with kids. Who knows? At the end of the day, we want to get as many people involved in fishing as we possibly can. So we want to bring that to you. Here's how we're going to do it. It's going to basically be encompassed and encased in a trailer. It'll be an enclosed trailer. It'll have 200 pre-strung combos in it, varying from different sizes depending on the age of the individual, of course, the ability of the individual. So we'll have really small ones right up into sort of almost adult type combos. We'll have all of that set aside in the trailer, along with a fridge that will be able to house all of our worms, so that we go to an event, we'll have live bait with us. Also, we are going to have a PA system so that we will be able to broadcast to the people. If you want to award trophies, this, that, and everything else, there'll be a PA system that will be inside that trailer, as well as a Starlink, having the Starlink capability so that you can broadcast to the masses. So on top of that, we also have a cooktop that is, as I said, been donated already by Enbridge. We're going to do some wonderful things, and we're going to be on tour. And I don't think there's any limit to where we will go, as long as we have the ability, albeit the funds, to do so. But it is something that I know a lot of the big tackle companies, even Shimano, when we presented the idea to Shimano, they were over the moon at the what it can do to alleviate some of the stress that some of these big companies get when it's, they'll get a call saying, hey, listen, I'm having a buck and doe, I'm having a bar mitzvah, I'm having a get together, I'm having a kids derby. We'd love, to have some Shimano product, or at least have a presence of Shimano there. How can you guys give us a hand? Call this guy, call CFN, and see what they can do for you. So we'll have set aside prizes, obviously, as well. But needless to say, it will be the means to your vision. If your vision is to hold a derby, a kids event, anything like that, we will be able to offer you the means to do that. All you need are the volunteers and the kids to enjoy it. That's it. Simple as that. Obviously, we were down this weekend. We'll talk about it with Jay and, of course, his special guest. But as I mentioned, the Niagara Fishing Tackle Swap happened this weekend. It was great to see a whole kaleidoscope of individuals down there, not to mention all the spectators that enjoyed the show and purchased some product. Awesome to see these grassroots events still doing so well. And, of course, the St. Catharines Hunt and Fish Club, they do some great things for our fishery, for our community, and for anglers at large, especially down in that area. Just a phenomenal group. So a big shout out to them for hosting this weekend. Oh man, I tell you, I'm really looking forward to seeing some of the videos that come out of this. It is the Kenosi Ice Jam. This is the CFN West meet and greet in the province of Saskatchewan, out at Kenosi Lake, hosted by our CFN Saskatchewan chapter. Walter, Taylor, and Jordan most likely are going to be there, but there's a whole host of others that are going to join them as well. It is going to be quite an event. Looking forward to seeing some of the videos. Look like they had an absolute great time last year. We're looking forward to seeing what they get up to this go around. But that is it's basically a 3-day, 2-night event. For those that are up there already, I think Daryl Nelson probably is already there, scouting the place and doing some pre-fishing, but really looking forward to seeing you CFNers enjoy yourself out on the hard water. If you are looking to win some money and you like toothy critters, there's the annual Ice Fishing Pike Derby up in Matagami First Nations, February 22nd, 8 to 4 p.m. There is the QR code if you want to get signed up, if it's something that you're interested in, and maybe you want to win some money. There's some great prizes there. Get a hold of MFN Fishing and get yourself booked in. Now, the timeline of events, obviously, and I did not upload the video. We have our upcoming Chatham show, Made in Canada Tackle Show. We are going to be doing some great promotion going forward to make sure that everybody knows about it, but it is coming along very, very nicely, and we'll see you February 9th in Chatham. It's going to be quite an event. We have some great vendors that are going to be joining us, and we have a few other details to figure out as well. But needless to say, this show's coming together very, very nicely. And unfortunately, of all the videos I uploaded, that was not one of them. So I apologize for all who are looking for information. We'll make sure we'll get that out to the masses. Lots of other events upcoming as well. We are very proud, honored, and excited just because of this unique opportunity that the Made in Canada Tackle Show and Marketplace is offering our vendors. So not only do we have the venue in Chatham, February 9th, but we're also going to be out in Ottawa with Big Jim and the Casting Pond, his kids' casting pond, which is a hit each and every year. Steve and I go out there to lend a hand and basically just get kids, reacquainted to fishing and just, as I said, fostering that love and passion for angling. But the cool thing about this year is Scott Sprague and his team reached out to us from the Ottawa Boat and Outdoor Show and asked if the Canadian Made in Canada Tackle Show and Marketplace would be something that could be featured within their show. And we said, absolutely. It basically will all come down to price because we want to make sure this is available to all vendors, even those that, typically don't have that opportunity to get to a big venue like the Ottawa show. Well, for $150, you can get a booth for 4 days that the show is going to run, and you will be situated in the Made in Canada Tackle Show and Marketplace venue, which has some booths set aside for us. We are that list is building. So if you are at all interested, get a hold of myself or Brad Norris, and we will put you in the direction. We'll point you in the direction that you need to go in order to get yourself booked. It is official. It's being done. We do already have the invitation letter. We're going to be sending those out to everyone because there's a lot of you vendors out there that want to take an opportunity of that, and we certainly want to bring it to you. As we mentioned last week, we are going to be holding the North Channel Walleye Open. This is the first walleye tournament of its kind up in the Spanish area. Jim has been the MC at the Sagamuk, which is a little bit further up the river, but in this area of Spanish, don't know of any tournaments, walleye tournaments anyway, that have run on this scale. And of course, there's a whole bunch of prizes that are available. Dan, Nick, and myself are putting this tournament together. And again, another venue that is really starting to shape up and we're really excited about. But before we get to there, we're going to be at Horwood, August 10th to the 16th. This is the 7th annual CFN retreat for 2025. Meals, boat, shared accommodations, fuel, bait, and a nightly fish fry are included in your $999 fee plus taxes. You'll get a chance to meet Walter and a whole bunch of others that will be joining us. Each and every year that we come up there, it is always a hoot, always a great week of fun, food, and fishing, and we'd love to see you there. So make sure you reach out to Doris and Warren to get your butt booked in a bed. And last but not least, of course, we are going to be up for our 4th annual OFC Nation Retreat. This is at Camp Magatosh, another fantastic, phenomenal venue. Lucky to have these characters that are going to be showing up again this year. And have shown up in past years. They will be the ones. So reach out to Andrew, reach out to Mike, reach out to Pauline, Kevin. There's some great stuff that's happening. So as I said, love to see you folks up there. So make sure you get yourself booked. And how you do that, of course, is reaching out to Tracy. That's all the information you need. And hopefully we will see you there. Any comments, any questions that I have missed? No. Nice to see you, Trisha. Thanks so much for joining us, Michelle. I do have to get in touch with you. Sign me up as a volunteer. Dean, consider it done. Thanks so much for that, bud. Yeah, absolutely. We're going to do some wonderful stuff with this. Andrew, nice to see you, my friend. There you go. There's the website. Thanks, Brad, for showing that. That is for all of the venues. Thanks for being on the ball, because as I said, I can't believe I forgot to upload that video. Yeah. You know what? Let's get to the one and only, the legend. And I'll tell you, this is one individual that sits back and truly enjoys what is happening in our fishing industry when he sees sort of others taking the helm, taking the baton and running with it. But let's not forget, we have a lot to thank for the Babazumis, the Italo Labignans, the Fishing Canada folks, Violas, and of course, our beloved Big Jim McLaughlin, who's coming up right after this.
When he was born, he tried to reel in the umbilical cord. Bass named him as their personal best. His power pole came with a stripper. Forward-facing sonar uses him to find fish. Chuck Norris is his co-angler. He is the most interesting fisherman in the world. Stay fishing, my friends.
There is the one and only Big Jim McLaughlin. How you doing, Big Jim?
Feeling like the champ today, so I put a tournament shirt on. Actually, I had them out of the garage because I get some new ones made.
Yeah.
I get a couple of new ones made. Not that I fish tournaments anymore, but just to support the people who support me, and just to be sure that I got a lot of territory to show names off, so I can do it.
You're awesome, buddy. Well, I'll tell you, no one makes it look better than you do. Yeah, my vote for Big Jim, absolutely. You have certainly paved the way to a lot of us, and you have given us opportunities, Jim, that honestly we can't thank you enough for in this industry and just the fishing
Appreciate
community
that, buddy.
at large, man. You have.
I was talking to what's that guy's name again? Babazumi. I was.
You mean Dave Chung?
He messaged me the other day.
Yes, sir.
About something, and I said to him, time for a quick call, and I didn't even get a chance to go to my phone book to phone him, and he just phoned me. I guess he had me on speed dial, but it was all there. And anyway, we chatted forever, and we agreed that sometime in the near future, this is something else. You still owe me a beer trip.
It's coming. Trust me.
And I haven't had a beer for 16 years.
It's coming.
But
Promise.
Bob and I agreed that we were going to buy a 6-pack and we were going to go sit somewhere and drink it and just tell stories. So we start talking about things. And eventually he says to me, "Holy shit, I got to go." He said, I forget what he was doing. He was going somewhere. And he said, and I look at my phone, 1 hour and 41 minutes. We just told stories, you know?
Wow. That's awesome.
Just
Well, I can. I would love to be on a bug on a wall, or at least have a mic in the room. We'll probably have to hit.
And I think it could have all been taped. There was, yeah.
I bet it could. Listen, I've had the pleasure of being here with you two in the room, and I will say there's something I tell everybody. I will take this to my grave. Listening to the two of you go back and forth before we went live truly is something I will never forget. That was like, I don't know, seeing a unicorn, man.
We go back a long way. You know,
incredible.
When I still remember the day talking to Bob, I pulled over on the side of the road and he called me because I messaged him when he wasn't going to be with Shawano anymore. And the two of us were talking on the side of the road and we were crying like two fools. You know?
Well, now that you've said that, I will say, folks, it was truly like watching two old Bennies. I say this with all due respect, trying to remember some of the past times. And of course, Bob came on our show to announce his retirement, which was truly an honor to have him here regardless. But for him to come on here and announce that was truly something I will cherish forever. But listening to the two of you going back and forth, listen, if you cry, I'm going to start crying. So you better not cry. And this went on for almost a minute and a half. The two of you pointing fingers and don't you dare. If you start crying, it was awesome, man.
Turn into a couple old fools. You know, we can always dust our trophies, though.
Yes, amen to that, buddy.
That's what I bugged him. I said, why don't you take a couple of weeks off and come over and dust all my trophies? Eh? He says to me, "You gave all your years away to the Boy Scouts. Touche." I told you about that, eh? When we got them all and took the plates off them, they got kids winning, kids catching a bluegill at a tournament. He's getting a trophy that I would have a hard time carrying. I thought it was funny.
That is funny. That is really funny. But Keith's saying that he's still crying, and you know what, Keith? Yeah, you're not alone.
Don't get me started, damn it.
Yeah, you're not alone. You're not alone.
I'm ready.
Buddy. There we go. We have been talking, you and I, Jim, about ice safety. And, it's almost an oxymoron. We can't really even suggest it as safe ice. But now that we have thick ice, and at least thicker than what we've been used to in the last 2-3 years, we can say that there's a lot of anglers out on the ice. And we hope that they're all on safe ice. There is something now that is looming that's actually going on right behind you. But it's the wind factor. And one thing that we have seen an escalation in, not to say that there's been more of it this year than any other year, but the amount of wind. And raise your hand if you've seen a video in the last 10 days of someone having to chase down a chair, their pullover, a hut. I mean, we've got, not only do we have to be wary of thick and safe ice, but we now have to be wary of the weather and things like Lake Winnipeg, where wind can pick up in the blink of an eye. Some of this stuff's got to be fastened or at least stored properly. It doesn't end up at the end of the lake.
It's crazy too, Scotty, and how dangerous it can be. When I went to the gym this morning, when I crossed the Cataraqui River on the 401 to go down into Kingston, I look out and there's a hole below the bridge that's open. It's probably a football field and a half. And there's somewhere between 25 and 150 million ducks, Canada geese, and probably, catch this, okay, sit down, probably 300 swans.
Wow.
Like there's a whole bunch of, like, there are thousands of them around here. When I moved here, there was like, you saw the odd two. We had the two in the back here, which come every year. I think it's the same ones. But it was stupid. Like, you see the people on the 401 slowing down to take pictures of them. So when I'm coming back from the gym and I picked up the groceries, it's about 2.5 hours later. And that space is now down as far as the eye can see. The ice has been moved by the wind, the waves lapping, and the birds are all spread out down to it.
Unreal.
There was guy from Trenton that works at the airport there told me today he booked 102.
Jeez.
An hour.
Well, again, these are some of the hazards.
There's 89 here. Well, that's when we were talking before we opened. I said to you, "Did you guys hear that? Like, my house just shook." Yeah.
Like, you mean this is common? You get up.
Goodbye.
It's gone. You'll be chasing that for a while. It's odd to see huts that size, but Jim, you were talking about something that was the size of your office that flipped over.
Yeah, it didn't go like that. It just flipped over, and then the wind just tore it to pieces in the video. But I mean, I remember a long time ago. There you go. I remember run, Forrest, run.
Believe it or not, he catches up to it.
Oh, does he?
He actually catches up to it by the end of the video. It's amazing. Like, talk about perseverance.
That was 4 hours late.
Yeah.
Guy was down to 110 pounds. No.
Well, put it this way. He dives on it, and then the video sits there for a very long time. And I don't know if he actually got up after that or the mercy flight had to land. But needless to say, it was something to see that blowing around. And then, of course, the gentleman chasing after it. But, Jim, some of the suggestions. You've been out on the hard water for a number of years, and you know all about this. What are some of the things that you can advise people? How do you get things anchored? How do you keep things safe?
You're right. Like, I mean, with all the pop, like, we fished. I mean, when I fished, all my ice fishing was done. 3/4 of it was done from a Voyager. So that's a two-seater. That's a fair sized thing. And it's, it'll move, but it doesn't move easily, especially if it's in the snow. But now we have all these things that are all these little pop-ups and things. And they're fine if there's no wind. But I mean, there was guys on posting, and he was telling me, he said to me, I had like 6 tie downs screwed into the ice, and I lost my hut. They got a hold of it. This was a guy from the States last week. I was talking to him. He had I sent him some jigs, and he phoned me to thank him, or he phoned me to thank me. And I said, like, I said to him, I can't imagine that. He said, yeah. He says, one popped out, and while I was going outside to get it, he said he made the mistake of leaving the door unzipped, and the wind got in it. And he said it was gone. Just gone. Everything tumbled all over. Yeah, like he said, it was just done. He said, I never found the hut. It was gone.
So a great point to bring up. First things first, if you are setting up a tent or you have an ice shanty, best thing to do is to point the door away from the wind, because just as Jim said, it will turn into a kite if you don't. But yeah, that's just, for pop-ups and small ice shanties. But for these folks that have these big ice shanties, their struggle is that thaw and freeze of the ice. So they're constantly having to jack up their huts. Now they get it up in the air and it almost turns into a plane, and flipping over, being top heavy like that. At the end of the day, we're basically going to have to get used to everything. Whether
See, like, there's no old smarts here to this either, because guys used to fish out of, they brought the shack out, it froze into the ice, and that was it. It stayed there for the winter. You could have had an 80-mile-an-hour wind and it wasn't going anywhere. That type of stuff. But I remember one day we had, in fact, we had the outdoor writer Tim Allard with us, and I had Dave Gens at the house, and the Zoomy met us, and we fished on the Big Rito. We had a so-so day. It was really windy though. We had probably like a 40 to 50K wind, so it wasn't that you couldn't work with it, but you just kept the fish traps, backwards, and it was all good. If you flipped it up, there was nowhere for the wind to catch. And when you got 300 pounds sitting in it, isn't as apt to move either. But we're sitting. And what we did later in the day to have a little chat was we got the 2 fish traps and we put them in a V. And we're talking, and Doug is filming, and it's all good. Everything's going along good. And Bob's talking, and he interviewed Dave Gens a couple of times on some stuff, and Dave just gave him some great little pieces of stuff to use. And because this, got to remember, this was back in the beginning. They didn't have pop-ups yet. That's back where this was, eh? And we're there. And I'm sitting there talking to him, and I catch a fish. And just as I catch the fish, Bob yells to me. He goes, "Is it ever getting windy?" And I stick the fish, and I'm sitting in the Voyager with the thing up halfway, the way it goes with the pole in the middle, And all of a sudden, I just start to blow away from Bob. And that's how I land the fish. I'm like 12 feet from the hole, and you see this perch about a foot long pop up out of the hole. And Bob says, "Well, when Big Jim starts to blow away, that's time to end the day." And that's the way he ended the show. Dave Gens almost choked to death laughing. It was just a hilarious day. But the wind is, you have to use common sense. You got to use common sense. Fish a different spot. Maybe look around. Just try some new spots out of the wind. Who knows? Maybe you find something better than what you got. And you got your mapping right on your phone now. You can go look for spots. I talked to a guy the other day here, a buddy of mine. He was out on Quinny and he wasn't doing well. And he sends me a message and he says, "Hey, where's that spot you used to fish right beside the shore?" And so I went and got it, and I found it. I showed him. I told him. I took a screenshot of it and I sent it to him. And he says, "Yeah, I'm about 150 yards away from there, but we're way out in the middle." So this is to show you now he's at Quinny. Nobody's getting anything around them. And he's fishing in 26, 28, 30 feet of water. And he's on 8 inches of ice. Good, clear, solid black ice, eh? He goes into this spot along the shore. He's in 18, 19 feet of water. And the ice is 16, 17 inches. So there's the difference in Quinny when they talk about ice, eh? That's, there's a difference. But he didn't have to contend with the wind anymore. And it wasn't a wind like today.
Oh, dude. And it's funny you say, can you hear that? For whatever reason, it just literally picked up outside the window, and it is absolutely howling. So brings me, it's a great segue that you talk about, Jim, because of course, when people get in trouble and when people lend a hand, and I want folks that are watching, all 30 that are watching, put in the comments, what angler are you? Now, I will apologize. There is some swearing in here. I tried to take it out, but unfortunately I couldn't. But it also just adds to the effect. Which
I'm
angler?
offended.
No, well, not yet. Which angler are you folks?
Oh, fuck!
That's me.
Oh, shit. He's out. He knocked himself out.
Yes, he did.
He got knocked out.
Got the strip.
No.
Oh, shit.
Guys, the guy that was just fishing next to us was running for his rod. He slipped and fell. He knocked himself out, guys.
Okay, so I don't know if you heard that or not, but basically both of them look up at the exact same time, and right at the end, Angler B basically announces what has happened, which is that the beloved tip-up, or the dreaded tip-up in this situation, guy ran to his tip-up and unfortunately slipped, fell back, hit his head, and he was out cold on the ice. What angler are you? Are you angler A, that you immediately run to help somebody, or are you angler
On
B?
right away.
100%. 100%.
When we were coming home today, there was a spot over here where it was an absolute whiteout on the road to Gann. And I mean whiteout. I was driving the truck in four-wheel drive in like a foot of snow on the road. It was just unbelievable. And there's 4 vehicles have crashed. And they're all over the place. This is just about 400 yards down the road from the junction there when you turn to go to Gann. And they're up on a hill. They're all over the place. And there was about 25 to 30 cars. I went around real slow. And first thing that I said to Tammy was, I wonder if anybody phoned, somebody had to have called 911. And she said, yeah, the guy in the Amazon truck was on his phone. He was obviously doing it, but I'm a person that always wants to help. I've seen some pretty grisly things at accidents. Say, I was holding a lady's hand trapped in a car once, not far from my house, when the kids were young, and the grass is starting to burn around the car because the heat of the car set it on fire. The brown grass, it was late in the fall, and all of a sudden, here comes the fire truck. It's getting to the point where I'm ducking out of the smoke. It's starting to burn. And this lady she's squashed in the car. The dash is right against her with the wheel. She could breathe and everything, but I was holding her hand. She's probably about 25 years old, and I'm holding her hand, and I'm telling her, "Oh no, they'll get you out right. Don't worry about it." And then she starts asking me, "Am I going to die?" And I'm like, "Oh my God! Do I really need this?" It's all just came back to me thinking about giving. I got goosebumps. It was just
You're actually giving me goosebumps because the experience you had was very, very similar to mine. And of course, this is your segment, so I don't want to steal your thunder, but I do like some of the interesting answers. George is angler C. He'd be checking everybody's tip ups.
You swine.
Yeah, I can't lie. B, if I had a hard time putting a rod.
You had a fish on the screen. You weren't leaving it.
It's interesting.
Honesty. I love it.
It's true, but there's a lot of parallels here. And I had the privilege of taping with the Ultimate Fishing Show, which you know very, very well.
Yep.
The unfortunate thing is, on my trip out to do this taping, and I forget I think it was Strawberry Lake. It was a small little lake just outside of Coboconk that is known for its muskie. We were taping a show. On the way out there, I'm driving across Highway 9, and there was a head-on collision, and I was probably maybe the 4th car to pull up on it. Like you said, immediately pulled over. I talked to the first truck, ran over to the second car, and he was convulsing. He was not with us. You could tell his eyes were in the back of his head. He wasn't cognizant. I did talk to him. I could look down, and his one foot, instead of it pointing out, was pointing back. So he was definitely in a lot of trouble. A lot of trauma going on there. Mercy flight landed. The OPP took my information. Long story short, the helicopter flew away, and I went off and I taped the show with the Ultimate Fishing Crew. Not long after, and this is why I say this, because you never know how important being that first responder or that first person at the car, at the accident, at the incident, whatever. But the family reached out to the OPP after they buried the man, and they said they wanted to know who it was that was speaking to their husband. And I guess there was a conversation between the OPP cop and the family, and I got this mysterious call, and it was the daughter. And she just said, I thought that was so awesome. The OPP officer told us that you sat there the whole time and you were talking to him, even though he was, obviously gone, but you could tell he was still breathing to a certain degree. And anyway, he was gone and probably pronounced the minute he got to the hospital. But The family really appreciated that. So, you know, if there's anything I can encourage you folks, being angler A is not a bad thing. Be that person that gives a shit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Nothing wrong with that. I've always been like that all my life, you know.
100%.
Stuff
100%.
like that. If there was anything, well, I told you about the time with the guy from the elevator.
Yeah.
When I had so much blood on me, they're trying to put me in the ambulance, and it wasn't me that was hurt; it was the guy in the elevator. You know, stuff like that. It's like when you feel a human body's blood spurt out of the body and hit you in the face.
Amen.
Never forget that one for a long time.
Speaking of never forgetting, and I'm so glad that you shared this because this caught my eye. And for those folks, it is Monster Monday. So this is a great segue here to jump into a video that I truly sat back in my chair when I was watching it. I can't imagine being this individual in the kayak that was trying to film, but obviously probably had a little bit of anxiety because he was concerned of his safety. This is absolutely incredible footage. Have a look.
Facing the wrong way. Oh, there's 2 of them. Roops is in the middle of a feeding frenzy. Oh my God, Roops! Are you okay? No way!
That looked like a drop shot.
Oh my God, they're all around him and it went right beside him.
What a hoot!
I can't believe he's still on his kayak. How is he still in one piece?
I don't believe it.
These fish are known for their speed and are capable of swimming at speeds of up to 75 kilometers per hour, making them one of the fastest fish in the ocean.
Yeah, I saw. Did I send that to you?
You did. You did.
Yeah,
I had already seen it. I had already taped it
Yeah.
to get ready for our show. And then you shared it. And I'm like,
500-600 pound fish, you know?
yeah.
They're not the real giant ones, but I mean, my God, the agility, they look just like smallmouths. You know what I mean? It's amazing. But you know, I watched the thing the other day with these people. They were on kayaks and they had a family of killer whales.
Yes.
Come right along beside it. You know what I mean? They're these pictures, these things are everywhere now. If I was on a kayak and I had a killer whale come beside me, I'd have to get in the water with him. Did he eat you? I'd have to get in the water. It'd be a once in a lifetime chance, eh?
It would be. It might be. I couldn't do it, dude.
They get me to eat for a week, though.
Well, that's what I'm fearful of. They take a look at look at the big boy. I don't got to eat for a month.
Bouncing me around with their tail, knocking bits off.
No kidding.
Just one. Hey, I got some stuff here I wanted to show you. I
Yes.
was talking to my buddy Vic at Pro Water Baits the other day.
Yep.
And I dropped by his house when I was coming back from Toronto, and it was really cool. He slipped me a few bags of stuff that he's got here, and you know, it's one of the things I like to support all the little plastic manufacturer guys. You know, that's why you see me go on these little binges with stuff and like to use it. Eh? But that's the package, so you can recognize it. But I got some. The first one he had, I think I showed you this one already. It's called a macho. It's like
Yes.
you see all the little holes in it?
Yeah,
Right
yeah,
in the middle there, you can see he actually has it welded. There's a ring in there like you would put on the outside. He molded it into the bait for wacky rigging.
Ah.
So it's inside now. You don't see it and everything else. It's in there, and you can you can use it for for just about anything that you want. And it's I can feel it when you squeeze on it there. You feel that. That's
Wow.
called the macho. And then he gave me a couple of other little things here. And he gave me these, just threw them in a loose bag. He didn't have any package. I've never seen a grub like this with a giant tail like that.
What does he call that, Jim?
I don't know, because they're just in they were in a Ziploc, eh?
Okay.
He didn't put them in the package. But
That must have some
me and-
serious action to it.
Well, I bet you it flops around pretty good. Excuse me. First thing I asked him was about making it thinner right here at the tail here.
Mm-hmm.
But he said it's just too many of them break off, because
Yeah.
it was one of the reasons all the fish Rocky and I caught with the gambler paddle tail worms.
Mhm.
It'd be nothing for us to use 50 of them in a day, sometimes more. And it was because the tails were so it was so skinny where the tail joined
Mhm.
that even a bluegill, you didn't even have to set the hook. The bluegill could just grab it and shake it, and it would rip off, right?
Wow.
And we used to go through it. But I think that was that little flap. It was so loose, so fluid. It just when we let it drop down in the weeds, and it was going down through the weeds. But I look for it. I got to find a strong enough hook because that's not very big. And
No.
I went through my BKK box trying to get a hook. And there's hooks in there that are definitely the right shape in that for it. I'm just going to have to get one a size smaller than the smallest one the box has, because you wouldn't think you'd want a hook that heavy for something. But I look forward to using those this summer. And then the other one here is a little thing he's got. There's baits like this out here, but it's like a little minnow. But see the way it's all jointed
Yes. Yeah.
to get the movement? That's called a shadster. And on the back of a chatterbait, I was playing around here the other day with this. I put it on the back of a chatterbait because you'll see, and it just looks like the profile would keep it from rolling and whatever. But it's just, there's a Yamamoto thing that looks right like this. I'm sure most of the molds that these guys get, it's they're fashioned after that. But it's a great choice for that. And then I was just sitting here before we started, and I thought to myself, what a great choice it would be just for a swim bait.
Yeah.
Putting that on the
100%.
back of a swim bait.
100%.
The big flat body, big strong flat body, it'll stay on there well, and it's got that swimming tail at the back, because when you swim a swim bait, you're basically just cranking it, eh? But it's just it's a couple of things. He's really got things in his mind. He's not just buying molds that are stock molds. He's buying custom made molds with stuff that's just a little bit different. Like I have never seen this in my life.
No, and
That's
Bruce
what
is
I've seen,
saying
big
that
paddle tail worms.
he remembers a fella that called it a beaver back in the day.
Yeah,
Something-
the same kind of thing. He's got an actual beaver. Yeah, they'd have a couple of arms out the side and that and everything else. But that tail, that's coming up to the size of a loony. Like you don't realize how big it is.
No, it is big.
I've never seen anything like this before. But it's just some stuff that I look forward to using this summer. Some different presentations and that, and it's nice to see, local guys, small guys, putting out the money, buying some stuff, just like our buddy Jamie there from True North. He gets molds that have different shapes on them. He gets it cut.
It's about being unique. That's for sure. And
really what makes it.
perfectioning things that are already out there. I don't know. I wish I knew the name of this angler. I know he's part of the NOWT, but I can't remember his name. Forgive me, but he's asking, know anyone who can design me a specific pitching jig? I know a few people that might be, one of which we're talking to right now.
Do you mean just by color? Or do you mean like if it's by color, any of the companies, any of the small companies, I'm sure the guys would fall over their shorts to get to it.
I'm thinking he's looking for custom. There is another one, Ugly Boys Baits. We've got Brad Norris on here as well. He would be another one to contact. And of course, I will say this without saying his name. There's a gentleman that's coming on with Jay Barnucz that might also be able to help you out. So
he can tie some rubber. He doesn't tie much rubber, but he's getting into it a little bit.
Yeah.
But as it comes, if he's looking for a head design, he's got to get a CNC guy. So
100%.
That kind of thing. But yeah.
Jim, as always, buddy, thanks so much for your time. I can't believe our hour has escaped us. But I will give you, if you're up later tonight, I'll give you a shout.
Tomorrow morning.
You got it, buddy.
Okay, pal.
All right. You take
care. Everybody. Stay safe on the ice, even although it's even safe for me now.
We got Lords coming up after a word with our sponsor. Thanks so much, Jim. You take care, bud.
My pleasure, bud.
There he is, my man, Lawrence T. Gunther. Remember why I said that?
Who's the T?
You know what? It's Buford T. Justice. You remember that Smokey and the Bandit?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
There
Yeah.
I go, showing my age again. Yeah, Buford T. Justice, Lawrence T. Gunther. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, man. I was listening to you guys talking about Big Quit, it got me thinking about not an accident so much, but one that almost went sideways on us. A friend of mine, we hired this guide, and he brought us way out on the Big Quid with his ATVs. Brought one, and then he went back, got the other. And he said, "Like, I'm bringing you to this place where we caught all sorts of walleye yesterday." And he had the GPS going on his ATV, and all sorted out. So he stopped his ATV, and we pulled off our sled and we pulled it over, and he drilled a couple holes, and my buddy's taking the slush out of the holes with our dipper. And he looks, and he goes, "Holy shit." He says, "Lawrence, there's like 2 inches of ice." And the guy's over by his ATV, and we call over and say, "Hey, there's like 2 inches of ice under us." And he goes, "Huh?" He goes, "Well, if you guys are okay with that." And I'm looking at my big friend. He's a big guy, right? And I'm thinking, "Oh God, if it's one of us is going through, it's you." But but I'm thinking, and he's going, "Oh, I'm not okay with it." So we moved. Like he said, "Well, let's try over here." So he punches a couple holes 10 feet away, and it's 6 inches of ice. We're in the middle of the bay, like not in the middle. We're away from land. And just like that, little bit, 10, 12 feet difference went from 2 inches to like 6 to 8 inches.
Incredible, isn't it? Yeah.
And just incredible. Just there's these underwater currents that evolve from the wind pushing on the ice that make the water ice pile up more heavily at one end, and then the water has to squirt back around to make up the difference, and it creates these little currents, and it dissolves underneath the ice. You have no idea where they are from one day to the next.
And that is probably why the Bay Quinny, although as much as I love it, now that I'm a little bit older and not as nimble, I don't want to say I'm scared of it, but I respect it more than I ever did. I think, maybe when we're young, we're obviously careless and we don't think necessarily like we do when we're a little bit older, trying to hang on to our life. But yeah, I will say Big Quinny is just one of those mystical bodies of water that you really, truly have to respect, because just as you explained, you'll get yourself into a situation that you weren't counting on in a real hurry. And anybody that's fished anywhere close to the Belleville Bridge knows exactly what I'm talking about. There is a lot of current there. So
you wouldn't think it's such a big bay, right? That there's a flow happening there, but yeah, it's happening. It's happening.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now you have been a busy lad.
Gone for the last 5 days. Just got back Saturday night. So I was left Wednesday morning and back Saturday night. First stop, Toronto International Boat Show.
Woohoo!
Who doesn't love a boat, eh?
Well, this is the thing, and it's funny because a lot of people ask, "Scottie, you're going down to the boat show," and it just didn't. Unfortunately, time was not in my favor to do so. And as I said, Sunday would have been the only opportunity for me to get down there. But when one of your kids says they want to go fishing, you do everything in your power to make it happen. But as I said, I was hoping to get down there Sunday, but when he wanted to go fishing, it was a done deal. And unfortunately, and we got Moose here with us tonight, so he certainly can speak, and we'll listen and probably add a few other things to your conversation in regards to what you saw at the boat show. So tell us, what did you see?
Yeah, no. It's I use that. Hey, I say the same thing, buddy. Don't worry about it. See you later.
Yeah.
I'm out of here. No, bastard.
Oh boy.
You know what? The year ago boat show, e-boats were big, right? There was announcements being made by everybody. They had a whole e-boat theme going on in 2024, 2025. A lot of the big boat marina outboard companies, they've dialed it back, right? Instead of every model having an electric motor alternative option, instead of 5, they said, well, let's just do one. Let's do one and do it right, instead of just spreading it out over all of them. And you still have some of the players that are still dabbling in electric boats and electric boat motors and outboards and so on, and there's still some releases, right? But I'm looking at the 10 horsepower equivalent by a company, I won't mention the name, but it's a big company, and no motor, just a big foot on that outboard motor, 10 horsepower. Where's the motor? Is it in the foot or is it in the head? Who knows? It's got a cowling. We look 138 pounds for a 10 horsepower electric motor. I'm thinking that's not even the battery, right? That's no battery.
Yeah.
And that weighs more than a 4-stroke. A 4-stroke 10 horsepower is like, I think, 89 pounds from that same company. So I'm thinking, well, that's going sideways. And then you add in, that big battery pack or two, depending on if you want to go and come back or just go. And, and then the charging, are you anywhere where you're going to be charging that puppy every evening? You got to have a good, plug to plug that thing into. So there's, it really comes down to range. It's the range, right? It comes down to the range on e-boats. And that's still the big issue with the battery technology we have right now.
And it's not to say that they don't have a purpose, like when it comes to the electric car, it's been around for a long time. It's called a golf cart. And down in Florida, if you live a trailer park or any other kind of, gated community, let's face it, golf carts they're the number one means of getting around.
Oh, yeah.
So to say that electric cars don't have a place or a purpose, that's incorrect. To say the same thing about outboard motors, that would be incorrect as well. The only thing I will say is most outboard motors, knock on wood, because I have been wrong before, but most outboard motors are used in the summertime when the temperatures are warm enough for them to get max,
They're not doing air conditioning. They're not doing heating. You're not using your battery to make heat in the car, in the boat, right? Yeah.
And here's the thing, though, with these electric cars that we are seeing in minus 20-degree weather, how functional are they? How practical are they? Ask anybody that goes to one of these charging stations that are unable to charge their car in the last 3 days that we've had the temperatures that we've had. They're not as feasible, not as practical. Do they have a place? Yes. Is it in Canada? I don't know. I really don't. I really don't know.
Is it outside the city? Is it outside the city? Right? Like, hey, you got a vehicle, you got your truck to tow your boat or your RV or to get out of town with the family and do your thing. And if you have the money, little cheap ass electric vehicle to bob around town, pick up groceries, drop kids off, pick them up, plug it in at home every night, charge it up with your when it's cheap from your own electrical grid. There's something to be said for that, but they have to make them cheap for that. I'm not spending $70,000 for an e-car just to, putz around the city. And then you still think, yeah, man, would I even take that from, say, one city to another and back again, right? No, you think twice about it unless you got some, invested some giant amount of money in batteries.
I would love to know, and we would never get an honest answer, I don't think, Lawrence, but I would love to know if people actually bought an electric car, not naming manufacturers by any means. I think that was a great road that you took, and I'll follow your lead. Did you buy it because you truly are conscious of the environment, or did you buy it because it was cool? It was trendy. Was it a bit of a fad? And you'll never get an honest answer. But the fact that I don't drive one, and I know one, I couldn't afford one if I could. It like you said, it's just not practical. If you're towing a boat, if you're someone that likes to go on adventures, to our north or either coast. It's just not. It just doesn't make sense yet. It's not to say that it won't in the future. And let's face it, technology is constantly evolving. So who knows? Maybe the electric car is going to be the thing of the future. It certainly isn't right now. Never mind the market share, and never mind how many have been sold. Let's talk about those who have broken down in it. Those who can't charge in the wintertime. Those who have seen that their range drops dramatically, as does the temperature. Again, these are all things that we're trying to sweep under the carpet for the sake of the environment, and I don't think we should, because we could talk about this till cows come home about the carbon footprint that goes into creating one of these cars. That has been exhausted, but the fact that you're continuing to drive it, how practical is it on days when it's minus 20? can't imagine.
Yeah. Or when it's 35 degrees Celsius in the summer and you got to run your air conditioning full tilt, the whole time, right? All that takes electricity. All that takes electricity. Look, there's going to be some boat races taking place in Toronto next summer. I think the announcement's coming out soon. That's going to be pretty cool. I think they're even going to have some electric boats, but electric boats can be really fast, super fast. Like electric cars can be really fast. You can do in terms of 0 to 60. Electric cars are blowing gas engine cars away, in terms of, 3.5 seconds from 0 to 60 miles an hour. It's incredible, just incredible. But and boats doing the same thing, but for any length of time, that's a whole nother story. And I know people who are buying electric cars. I know people, like you said, the ones who wanted to be on the on the sort of cusp of all that and they say, hey, look at me, I'm caring about the environment, I'm caring, I'm a believer in green energy, all the ones who are making a statement. It's a lifestyle type thing. But there's a lot of people who are buying cheap ass electric cars. They're getting into really good low cost leases on electric cars because it's affordable. There's no, if it's just for in town, it's really super handy. Very little maintenance involved in all of that, and it's just super simple, right? You don't have to fill it up. Just come home, plug it in. You never go to a gas station with the thing. Never go to a gas station, right? So there people love them. People who buy them love them until you have to go down the highway and go for a long drive in Canada. That's where you start to get the range anxiety, 100%. And that's where things break down. And the same with boats. So you saw a lot less push on that at the boat show this year. There was a good variety of things. There was a lot of new fishing boats that were sort of introduced. You don't see a ton of fishing boats, but the big companies are all there. Everything's represented, right? They're all there. Lund announced their new 18-foot fiberglass fishing ski,
which I have to say, we talked about it before going live.
Yeah.
And I'll have to say that is a solid looking boat.
Yeah, for sure. It's right there. If you have a 16-foot and you're thinking of trading it in, could be your next boat, right? It could be your next boat.
Yeah, that 18 GL that looks like a sweet looking boat.
Pop up back seats in the back corners, right? So you have a back deck, or you can pop up the seats and you got more seating for family and friends for skiing and towing and tubing and all that stuff. So it's a good versatile boat. There's no doubt about it.
And I like Brad's comment in regards to the hybrid, and I think this is somewhere that instead of going full electric, this is something that we should probably look a little bit more into is having hybrids, a combination of power. When you have that opportunity, not only are you being conscious of what you're doing to the environment, but it's also more practical in terms of range. Let's face it, when you have two sources of energy inside a vehicle that's trying to get from point A to point B, having two means of getting there, it just adds to your range. So it makes perfect sense.
But that's money. Hybrids are more money than just a gasoline vehicle or an electric vehicle.
Exactly.
You're paying for that. You're paying for that sort of flexibility. And then how are you going to pay for it later on when you start to have service issues, right? Okay, I'm bringing it in today. I got to get the gas engine service. Oh, I'm having some issues with the electric, engines. So where do I go for that? Or who can do both? There's a real shortage of technicians that can work on e-vehicles right now. People aren't going into the careers. There's a super shortage of people who know how to fix these things. You can't go to your local garage and have your e-vehicle looked at. No one wants to die with 4,000 million volts running through their wrench and, out their feet. Man, you can really hurt yourself with those batteries. Mm-hmm. There's huge issues. And same with on the water. You think about, you're on the water and you're running a big cable out to your boat to plug it in. You better be sure everything's grounded properly. You don't want to be falling in the water hanging onto that cable.
Well, that's the white elephant in the room is the fact that, you're charging a boat that is in water with very powerful hydro. And God forbid you throw that in the lake or drop it in the lake by any chance.
Oh yeah, you're just going to kill all those big bass under the dock all of a sudden.
Absolutely. Well, there won't be much dock left, especially if it starts on fire. Because if you've ever had to put out an electric car fire, call us in a week. Oh, yeah.
Kingfisher was there with some of their boats,
Yep.
and that's a sort of a brand that seems to be growing. And the reason I bring up Kingfisher, they're making these solid aluminum welded boats with really thick gauge aluminum, boats that can pound off a Canadian Shield rock and keep going without too much trouble. And price wise, they're competitively priced with other boats of the same size. They make boats all the way up to like 35 feet. There was one delivered up in northern Newfoundland, brought in by a helicopter last fall, and they're getting 2 more helicopter lifted in there this year.
Wow.
So these are boats that people think are reliable and Canadian made and something you can count on, right? Like I said, they'll take a beating, and they may not have the curves of a fiberglass boat and the look of a fiberglass boat, very functional, but they're not necessarily ugly either. They're just solid boats.
Mhm.
And I raise them because if we start to get into some war, trade, tariff issues with the U.S., like last time, where we put a tariff on boats coming into Canada, they put a tariff on our steel and aluminum going from Canada to the United States. So we said, okay, we'll put a tariff on some aluminum steel items coming into Canada. And that was pleasure boats and fishing boats. And if that happens again, never mind the price of things going up, inflation, never mind the fact that our dollar's dropping. So already boats made in the United States are become a lot more expensive over the last 2-3 years.
Yeah.
And then you throw a 25% tariff on top of that. Man, oh man, things like Lund and a lot of those American made boats are going to be coming. Oh my God, no, that's not.
Well, this is it. And it's funny because Brad and I talked about it a lot on Saturday, the looming tariffs and the threats of what's about to happen. To your point, we all saw it with the aluminum boat market. That entire industry, it went through the ceiling when the price of aluminum did. And what was an economic boat to purchase became a luxury item in almost overnight. So yeah, we don't want to go down that road. But there's good news. There's really good news. Something that needs to be shared. The used boat market is exploding exponentially. Folks that purchased boats during COVID that haven't got a lot of use out of them for whatever reason, all I can say is if you go on Boat Trader or any used boat publication, you will be stunned to see how many boats that are available. Prices are still up there. They're getting good resale value on those boats. So I don't know how many deals you're getting right now, but there is a plethora of boats available.
So say you bought a boat in 2020, 2021. Then we've had all this inflation happening, and then the cost, with the drop of our value of our dollar, the value of that boat new now is quite a bit higher. So you're thinking, I can sell it for 20% or 25% below asking price for a new boat, and it's what you paid for it. Yeah. You can sell. Literally, people are trying to sell their boats, 3-4 years later for what they paid for them, and good luck to them. But there's a lot of boats sitting. And I tell you, walk around the boat show and you talk to, I talk to my friends in the industry, and 2024 was a dismal year. It was a dismal year for boat sales, new boats, used boats, all of them. It was a dismal year. So there is a flood of boats. People want to get out of their boat loans, maybe they can't afford it anymore. And maybe the inflation and the interest rates and their mortgages are coming due and they just can't make that, bi-weekly $78, $210 payment for the next 28 years or whatever. It's 20-year boat mortgages normally. That's what you see at the boat show. It's all based on 20 years bi-weekly payments, and it's all listed there. It's $53 every 2 weeks for, the next 240 months. 100%. And it's all like that, right? And if you do the math, you're buying, say, a $30,000 introductory boat, and at the end of 240 months, you will have paid $60,000. You'll have paid double, right, at the interest rates that they are now in over 240 months. And the worst thing is, in 6-7 years, you'll want to sell that boat, and then you'll look at the fine. You'll still owe what you paid for that boat.
Yeah, sad. So, John, I believe you're on vacation, John. I love this comment. What is old is new again. And John would like to see the birch bark bass boats come back. John, I'm with you, buddy. If you carve one, I'll get in it. I promise. I
Oh
promise.
my god, they're the dugout deep V.
Well, and this is the thing. Like we talk about cedar strip canoes for one. They were sort of a nice keepsake, sort of a family heirloom when they got passed down from generation to generation. And now they are so sought after. You go and try and find yourself a cedar strip canoe right now.
Oh yeah,
Paying through the nose.
Yeah, they're few and far between, and the cedar strip. I mean, they were the boat of the 1950s, right? A cedar strip covered in canvas, all lacquered, freaking heavy boats, man. They were heavy boats. That were not something you want to portage too often. There was pontoon boats ruled last year. You saw a lot less pontoon boats this year. Deck boats seem to be coming more in style again. Deck boats, right? It's a pontoon, it's a fishing boat, it's a pleasure boat, it's a big boat, with lots of all the same furniture you find on a pontoon, only now it's got fishing chairs and you can fish off the platforms on the back and so on. So they're Princecraft's coming out with a lot of those. Everyone's coming out with these deck boat. It's quite interesting. Yamaha's coming out with them. There's a lot of these pretty cool boats coming out for sure. Would I buy one? I don't know. I think if you have a lot of young children, it's maybe a good answer. You're 3-4 kids and they have friends and you got there's room for everybody, and it's not a pontoon, so it's
absolutely
cool.
And Terry says it best. If it floats, it works just like when we were kids. You're 100% right. You know what? And at the end of the day, we all like new things. We like the new gadgets, the new technology. But you buy what you can afford, and you have what you can buy. And needless to say, we are going to have to mirror what's going on because our dollar is just I can't even begin to imagine when these tariffs come into play because our dollar is so pathetic right now.
It's going to take a dive. Yeah.
They get even worse.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough of that. Let's talk
enough of that. Okay, so I left the boat show, went to Clayton, New York for a couple meetings. First day of meetings was the St. Lawrence River Institute for Environmental Science and Save the River on the American side, where the Upper St. Lawrence Riverkeeper is housed and works out of. And I'm a board member of now Save the River in the United States. Don't ask me why. No, I know. I'm a big fan of what they do. And they see the fact that I'm still the president of Bluefish Canada and a board member of Save the River. It's not a conflict. I'm not poaching their donors and they're not poaching mine. I mean, I can't issue tax receipts to Americans don't bring donations to Bluefish Canada. So that's not going to happen. But I love John Peach. He's been the river keeper there and the executive director of Save the River for about 7 years now. And he's just an amazing guy. And God bless him. He's got some challenges with his cancer. And so we gave him an award. He received the award with a video. Thank you. And but some of the presentations, here's something, we're talking about the roundhead goby and now the tube nose goby. And they did some calculations and they said, I think 2/3 of the biomass in the St. Lawrence River is now goby.
What? It's that high?
Yeah. 2/3. Wow. 2/3 of all the fishy critters swimming around in the St. Lawrence River. 2/3 of the total weight of all the fish swimming around in the St. Lawrence River is goby.
Well, I will say this, based on the size of smallmouth we're seeing the Bealers catch and some other folks in the Cornwall area, Terry as well, some of the, what they consider just ordinary walleye have guts on them. They're Scottie size.
Yeah.
Big boiler makers on them. I tell you, it goes without saying that there's an incredible forage base there for them to feed on, to put on that kind of weight. Truly incredible. So I shouldn't be surprised, but it is a staggering number if you think about it. 2/3 of the biomass.
Yeah, and you think how long it took those walleye to turn on to the gobies, right, as a food source.
Well, this is the thing. Do we have any science on that? I wonder. Do we know?
No, I wish we did. We did. Yeah, that would be interesting. Getting them to do fish kind of research, and that's another reason our meeting Friday between the River Institute and I'm a member of the steering committee for the River Science program. and I'm also the chair of the new to be announced, shortly to be announced, St. Lawrence River subcommittee, a fish health subcommittee. So, I already chair the Great Lakes Fish Health work network, and now I'm going to chair the St. Lawrence Fish Health subcommittee as well. And we're putting things on the map. Like, we had a great table there where we talked about what are the fish, the U.S. and Canadian fish health issues on the St. Lawrence River. So there's some really important things that cross the border. One of the things I pointed out right away is Blind Bay. It's one of the last giant wetlands on the upper St. Lawrence River above the Saunders Dam in Cornwall. And it's still eminently gonna possibly be meet its demise if the U.S. Coast Guard sets up its big harbor there in Blind Bay.
Mentioned that. Yeah, you mentioned it's going to be a Coast Guard hub, if you will.
Yeah. So that's still happening. Now, the state of New York just enacted their legislation saying, they have the right to protect wetlands, and they've drawn a circle around that Blind Bay and said, no, this is according to the New York State, this bay is now protected. Of course, the Coast Guard can overrule that. Another organization, Thousand Islands Land Trust, bought the land around Blind Bay and said, okay, now you can't have it. But the Coast Guard can say, no, we can, we can domain governance, or whatever they call it. They can just take the land and pay you what they think it's worth. So that's not going to stop them. But hopefully we'll see what happens. Because this is where the muskie and the pike go to play, right? And have lay their eggs, and the babies grow up. And we're already seeing the virus is back into the big muskie again. A couple of years ago, we had a big kill off on the big muskies again on the St. Lawrence River from the virus that first struck in 2006. And we're seeing northern pike, because of the river fluctuating in levels so much with all these heavy rains, the 2017 floods and the 2019 floods. And then last year again, there was more floods. So whenever Lake Ontario floods, and, they open up the dams and the river drops and becomes just a roaring river, which means all those wetlands that we created when we created the St. Lawrence Seaway are left high and dry. And all the eggs that were dropped in there in the spring, before the floods, are left high and dry. And that you just ended that whole year class of reproduction. And the northern pike numbers are showing that, man. That's just crazy how the northern pike are dropping in numbers on the St. Lawrence.
Really? Well, for the muskie fans, they won't be that upset to hear that. For those who enjoy a good feed of pike, that's probably not something you want to hear.
Well, there's muskie, there's pike, right? They go hand in hand.
They do, and they're not supposed to, but they do.
Yeah, sure. Pike are prevalent for sure. There's we have things going on, like the eel. That's a big one. So I said to the Americans, I said, why don't you guys ask us to tap in and give you a hand on that Blind Bay thing? Let's make it this an international issue. But the people in the U.S. side, they we don't want help from our stupid cousins to the north. Our bumpkin cousins in the north.
if all they've listened to is the arse hat in Ottawa, then I can totally understand why they don't want to listen to the game. I totally get it. I have a question here from Tasha. We did speak about this, and then there seemed to be a bit of a moratorium in place. You may not have much information on it, but Tasha's asking a very, very interesting question that we did talk about before. And if we can't talk about it tonight, I promise you, Tash, Lawrence will look into it, and we will get the answer that you're looking for. But Tasha goes on to say, hey, Lawrence, how do you feel about the Alberta government removing the moratorium on coal and allowing mining again in the East Slope Rocky Mountains? I remember you looking into this in 2020, and here we go again. The fight continues.
Well, any surprise? Look, when they announced the moratorium, they said then it was temporary until they could research the issue properly. A lot of the advocates who had fought for that moratorium said, look, this is coming back. It's coming back. This is just, let's take a pause. Let's get the heat off of us. Let's, and then the government released this thing. Look, they want to make this special coal that's super clean for making, really good metal. If you're making important metals, you need coal as part of that process, apparently, and you need a certain type of coal that allow you to make these types of metals. And it's kind of rare. That's why this Australian company wants to knock tops off these mountains in Alberta and dip the coal out of the mountains, and scrape it out. Because the mountain's all twisted up, so now the coal seams are all pointed up in the air. They just have to cut the top of the mountains, and then they can take the seam out, dump the rock over the side, and on to the next one. And when the problem is when you dump the rock over the side, it clogs up the little rivers that flow between the mountains, and you introduce all the slag and all the waste into those rivers that then carry it away, and they become contaminated with some of the coal mining products that are used to remove the coal from the rock. So there's a bunch of environmental issues that they're still struggling with, but the government says, no, we've got it under control. It's going to be fine. The Alberta government, and they're opening it back up, and the companies are back. But they say what really drove this is that the Alberta government had issued the permits. Then they put a hold on it. And the companies that got these permits said, well, that's fine. If you're not going to let us take the coal out, then we'll just sue you for the loss of our profits, because we had the right. And now you're saying we don't have the right. Someone's paying, for the lost profits we're going to experience. And Alberta lawyers and advised the Alberta government saying, look, you can either make some money on this or you can pay these companies a crap load of money.
I don't know what other people's thoughts are, but I think this would almost sit better with me if I knew that it was us expropriating this natural resource for the sake of providing our own mills the ability to get this enriched coal, to get this clean burning coal. But when I hear that we are basically clear cutting, gutting, strip mining, whatever adjective you want to use or verb you want to use, that really doesn't paint a very good picture. When we do it for the sake of bettering a different country, when we do it for the sake of profiting other companies other than our own domestically, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I get my back stands up on end when I hear this. Like, okay, you're right. You were given the land and you do have a right, blah, blah, blah. And yes, the government obviously has got some landmines to step around when it comes to this. But, I could almost see an argument, or at least have, I don't know, an understanding of the argument that these folks are with their threats of, lawsuits. But when it's going to another country, like, I'm sorry, I'm not listening anymore. Like, this is only benefiting you guys. I'm not into that. If it was being done domestically, different conversation, probably a different outcome. But when it's just another country trying to profit on our natural resources, that in most part we do a really horrible job setting the price, because we let others do that. We let others dictate what we're worth. That stuff's got to stop. We got to stop that, man.
Sure, there's some good jobs in the mining industry. As a miner, you're going to make a lot of money working on those jobs. And but who cleans up the mess afterwards, right? It's never the coal companies, and they say they're not supposed to dump the toxins into the environment, but things happen, and dams burst, and things leak, and there's just erosion and all the rest of it, and things go to hell, and then you have the ugliness of it afterwards, and then you have the toxicity, and we know there's toxicity because the Americans are suing Canada because we allowed coal mining companies to pollute rivers that flow into the United States, and they're saying, look, all your mining industries are killing our fish, and they're suing us, right? It was over in BC. So
so there's that too. Well, at the end of the day, there's a lot of open-ended topics that we could probably talk about till the sun comes back up. But you know what, Lawrence? Believe it or not, our half hour is already gone. It has eroded. A wealth of information, as you always do. You provided us, and thanks again for all you do. Having an ear to the ground and letting us know what it is we should know when it comes to the fisheries that we love, man. Truly.
We'll have some more news out for next Monday, buddy.
Right on, my friend. I truly appreciate that. And when we bring in Jay, we have a special guest, and I will break the secret right now. Take care, Lawrence. Have a great week, my friend.
All right, man.
We're at Canadian Cast. We're all set up. Show starts in about 30 minutes. Lots of product. Marabou. All my standard marabou jigs, $6 each or 6 for 30. I have my new premium jigs here, 7 each. Matte paint finish, gimme hook, hand tied gatekeeper. Bucktails in the middle, 5 each. And I have some miscellaneous items over here. And I have my new spin messing jig here. $8 a piece, 3/8 quarter ounce, gimme hook. All premium components. Some stuff on displays. Limited quantities on some things, so if you guys need anything and it's sold out, we can always chat. I can get an order. So hope to see you guys soon.
Right on. Well, that was the scene at CanCast last year. This is the scene at the Niagara Falls Tackle Swap this year at Eden High, a place that our special guest attends regularly each week that school is in session. But without further ado, let us both introduce both Jay Barnucz and, of course, the one and only Jeff of Jeff Jigs. How you doing, Jeff?
Good. How are you?
There he is.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. Jeff, you do make some great stuff, dude, and we really appreciate you taking the time because I know you're probably feverishly trying to keep up with the pace and demand of what's coming up because it is show season. And we saw an inkling of that this past weekend at the St. Catharines, your St. Catharines show. Again, truly love the fact, and Jay, I know you and I talked about it when we were at the show, this grassroots approach. How many years has this show been going on?
How many years?
Since 2020. So the first show was, I think it was like February 1st, like right before COVID happened. Then when COVID happened, like we were shut down for 2 years. Then we started back up in 2022. Then 2023, 2024, 2025. So 4 years.
Incredible.
So
Well,
it's pretty good.
I love not only the people that attend because they love talk fishing, but just the vendors themselves. Some class acts, a great group and great collection of good people at that venue. And it was an honor to see our good buddy Jay Barnucz up on stage doing his thing, as he always does. Jay, what was one of the biggest takeaways from this past show, this past weekend for you?
So this is a show that I've never been to, but I've kind of always wanted to go to. So when Daryl, right?
Yeah, Daryl.
Yeah, Daryl invited me, and I was like, yeah, that sounds awesome. It was I was a little surprised, like, to see a show that early in January, to be honest. But no, it was great. Went down. It's a classic fishing swap meet, but it's like busy. Like we showed up. Trevor was working, so I got all these stand-ins these days. I brought Steph with me to the show this year. She was so keen to come. She was just dying to come. So I said, yeah, let's go. So we went down. We got there at 8:45, and it opened at 9, and it was lined up. Like we had to park in like another continent to get there. Like it was a good. I got my steps in. Got my steps in on Saturday before the show. But it was, yeah. And then they had. So it was in the Eden High School.
Yep.
And they had the gym all set up. All the tables were set up for everybody. When you came in, they had a donation that was all the entry money admission money went to out in the cold.
I believe so.
Yeah. So it's for it's for homeless people, right? Like
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Something like
so that's fantastic. I love it when these events. And over the years, a lot of these events still to this day do this, where a lot of the proceeds from kind of the way these swap meets run is, just so folks know, the tables pay for the roof. Yeah, you got to rent the hall.
Yep.
So the rental of the tables pay for the roof. And then quite often, a lot of the admission money goes towards charities, food banks. It's incredible. And to see this many people out, especially like the ice fishing right now, and it's great almost everywhere across Southern Ontario, except for probably today with the wind. That's another story. But to see how busy it was, given all of the great ice fishing going on, and also it was quite nice on Saturday. It was only like -5, -4. Honestly, perfect ice fishing conditions too. But it was great to see so many people there. Lots of deals. That's independent dealers like Jeff's Jigs. But there's also a few other folks doing, like, who else was TNT Lures was there?
Yeah,
Who else was there?
Spoons. There was trying trying to think. Be My Bait, he was there.
Right.
Pow Casting, so Brad, so he had us all set up full of all his downrigger weights and his big river jigs. Trying to think. Lots of great guys there.
Well, and like
were there.
Yeah. Like we had who else? Like the seminars. Like so, Lyle Grader was there.
Yep.
Lyle presented a seminar in the morning, which was like I already saw you, Scottie, because I'm a seminar junkie and I'm torn. Right, I kept like going to listen. Even though I gave a seminar, I don't want to listen to my seminar, but I want to listen to Lyle's seminar. Lyle gave a great talk about Niagara River fishing. Like he's a local guide.
Yep.
He dedicates a lot of his time though. Like I want to give Lyle some props right now because Lyle, he volunteers at the fishing game, right?
Yeah.
Fishing game.
Yeah.
He works with the pens, like all the salmon stocking that goes on. Last year, he volunteered for the St. Catharines Junior Bassmasters. He was one of the guides, right? So last year, Trevor and Jeff fished. Mark, Jeff's dad, was the captain. Lyle was the other captain for Riker and Nolan, right? So Lyle just gives a ton back. And then to hear him talk, he is a very meticulous guy. Like when he talks about his angling. So it's great to hear him talk. And he's also a big multi-species angler, like carp fishing, salmon fishing, bass fishing.
Yeah, like one day he'll be out on Lake Ontario catching salmon. Like the evening he'll be out bass fishing, and like next day he'll be out carp fishing.
Yeah.
He goes all across Niagara fishing. It's pretty cool.
And that's the beautiful thing about the St. Catharines area is the number of species that you have on your doorstep. Truly, I don't think you have that anywhere else in Canada. Now that I think of it.
No, like you're in that sort of that Niagara Triangle, right? Like you got Lake Ontario, Lake Erie, and then Niagara River, right? And Niagara River upper and lower, which are two totally different fisheries, right? Like they're both extensions of Erie and Lake Ontario, but they're also very different fisheries. And so there's just so much, and then you even have some great inland fisheries too. Like if you want to go, like I know people that may not like to know, but like the Welland River. There's great channel cat fishing in the Welland River, Jordan Harbor. There's lots of places to fish there, and it's great that to hear it promoted. And actually, when you walk into a place like Grimsby Tackle, like I think they are the best provider for tackle for that area to me because they have everything in there for all the stuff we're talking about, right? So that's why I love supporting Grimsby Tackle. I know I talk about them a lot on this show, but the guys there do a great job of tailoring to and Peter's Tackle and St. Catharines.
Does a good job too.
Yeah. They do a great. Yeah, she does a great job there too. So, dude, it was just a great event, great group of people. I'm glad I went, and I hope I get invited back next year. Even if I don't get invited back, I'll show up anyways.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. It's just great to support, as I said, those grassroots operations that are doing great things for our fishery, for our community, and anglers at large. I will say this in a friendly way. I did scold your daughter, and one is she's growing, and eventually she's going to be taller than me. And Stephanie, you need to pump the brakes on that, okay? Like I'm a little fragile when it comes to women being taller than me. Just kidding. But at around 10:30, I'm talking to someone, and I look out of the corner of my eye, and there's Steph looking at me, yawning.
Oh no!
I haven't been able to stop yawning since, Steph. So unfortunately, I gotta give you a pinch. Good thing you're not here. I'd give you such a pinch. But yeah, I looked over at your daughter who was yawning, and then suddenly I couldn't stop yawning all day. So Steph, I had for that.
It's funny, dude. So when I knew Trevor couldn't go because he was working late Friday night, and then he had 2 exams on Monday, and so we kind of said you got to stay home and study. And anyways, and so but Steph's like, I'll come, and I'm like, Dad's leaving pretty early. Like we left at like 7, which isn't early, but it's early for some people. And Steph was all about it. So we had a good time. So she loves to spend money on fishing stuff. So anytime she gets a chance to buy unique things, she did. She bought.
Well, whose birthday is it that she bought a whole bunch of bait for? Or
Trevor's girlfriend's Kate.
Birthday's yesterday.
It was Sunday. Yeah, yesterday. So she was all about buying some gifts for Kate. So and awesome. Kate's an avid angler. Kate Latte, she's an avid angler, and so so she was trying to custom shop for Kate, so that's what she did. So yeah, it's definitely loves to be a personal. If anyone needs a personal angling shopper, Stephanie would like that job. She loves. You find her, like, you tell her the colors that you need, and she will find them for you. She loves to do that. I think she could be like, the kids that work at like Walmart and fill like the online orders. I think she could do that at like a fishing shop. If someone wants to give her a job, I think she could do that easily for somebody. Yeah.
I think we might have something. Yeah, that I like. Okay, I will make sure that I put that aside.
Yeah.
And use that in the future. But yeah, that's great. And I can say you have interior designers that are paid an exorbitant amount of money for people to decorate rooms. So who's to say you can't have your tackle box decorated by the one and only Stephanie Barnucz? Love it.
Yeah.
Jeff, you showed us and introduced us to what was upcoming at CanCast last year. Obviously, I want to talk about some of the stuff that you got upcoming this year. But before we get to that, first and foremost, how long have you been tying jigs now?
So I've been tying jigs since COVID. So quick story behind it. So like back when COVID all started, right? Like I had like the basic like tools for it because you need a vise, and a vise is kind of like a big clamp that like it like holds your jig, so it's much easier to tie on. Then I had like a bobbin, kind of like holds your thread, and like all the like scissors and all that, and like the glue and everything. And I had jig heads kicking around that I found in our tackle boxes. So I just kind of tied for fun then, and like I'd go on like FaceTime with my dad's buddy, and we just always tie like once I'm done school, because it was online school back then. And then like I've been tying. Then I just kept on tying until like 2022 is when I kind of like sparked the idea. I said, getting better at it, maybe I can like turn it into like a side business. So I believe it was like December is when I like really thought about it hard, and like January kind of like snapped. Then that's when Jeff's Jigs started. Then my first show was the Hamilton Bassmasters tackle swap in March. Great tackle swap, just like the Niagara one out of Ancaster. Always lots of good vendors there. Always lots of good deals. But yeah, so that was my first show, and it's kind of all sparked up. Like kind of went to the roof from there, and now I'm at CanCast, what's biggest all fishing show in Canada. So it's pretty cool.
That is cool, and the fact that you're in an industry that I wouldn't want to be in like you are, and I say that only because there are some incredible tires. One that we have the pleasure of speaking to every Monday, but I do know that
I talked to him quite a bit.
Big Jim has some incredible stuff that he has been making over the years. And I will say one thing that I truly admire is that you've jumped into the marabou jig game. And that is not an easy thing to produce, for one, because as I said, you've got folks like Big Jim out there that have been doing this for a number of years and have an incredible following. He's got tournament anglers that call him on the regular, especially when they're in town, that they want to stock up and get a whole bunch of them. What is it? And I have to ask you, now that you've been in it for a little while, Jeff, what is it that you see, or what is it that you need to do in order to be able to be competitive with folks like Big Jim out there producing? As I said, like they've already had the brand recognition. Jim's got the trophies that he dusts on a regular basis to prove, what he ties is truly something special. Jeff, he admires what you do. Trust me when I say that. But to see you coming up in that community, what is it that you do differently, or what is it that you see as your niche to be able to compete with those that have been tying for so many years?
So I'm going to use like a few just like jig tires as a whole. So like so if I see an idea like on a YouTube video or something like that, I'll say, okay, so they have a marabou jig, then I'm going to try and make it better. Not like theirs that's already out on the market. Like there's various marabou jigs in the market. And I've just found ways to make mine better for the angler, no matter if you're like your average weekend warrior per se, or if you're like a local hammer like across Ontario. Like I'm going to try and make it better. So overall, so it's much better jig for your average guy, whether you're a bass fisherman, walleye fisherman, trout walleye guy. Yeah.
So give us an example of why something that you've done to your marabou, for example, that makes it better. Like I know you've put a lot of thought into this, but it's great to explain sort of, Jeff, how your mind works and why you pick the marabou that you do. Because I've heard some things about marabou in your house that like you're picky about your marabou. Like,
Oh yeah,
like,
that's for sure.
Tell people about that. We may not understand. In fact, I
Yeah.
want to hear why, because I may not have heard the full story.
Yeah, so like when I'm tying hair jigs in my house, like I'll be tying away like at my bench, and I'll have my dad, so he'll usually have like the Leafs are playing, or he'll throw like on a podcast, and he'll just so I get my marabou in like 2-3 yard like big bundles, like say it's like a big ball of yarn. That's what they come on, and they come all strung together. So my dad, he'll sort the good from the bad feathers. I don't have any feathers with me to show. I should have brought some, but like in order to get a good feather, like on the marabou jigs, you don't want any spine in it, because that spine, it's not gonna flow nice in the water, and your marabou jig, it's gonna kind of look funky in the water. So I jam a whole lot more feathers than most people do on the market. I found that more feathers is good. You don't have too many, but you don't have too not enough. And having that perfect amount of marabou in your jig, it's gonna have a good. It's gonna be nice and buoyant. So your hair jig. So like I've found when I'm fishing Lake Erie, because I'm in Niagara, right? I have Lake Erie 30 minutes away from my house. So I go there quite often, and I'll be barely reeling my hair jig, and I'll see it's kind of flowing. Oh, let me go from this side.
Just show it right up there.
Flowing from the water, just kind of like this. We're just super slowly reeling. Because if you have too much marabou, it's just not going to pulsate properly. Then if you have too less, it's going to be going up and down, up and down, up and down. It's not good.
Because one thing I've learned about marabou, and Jeff and I have talked about this with the good marabou, like when you cast out a marabou jig, and a lot of people don't realize this, like, and I'm talking smallmouth fishing, okay? I don't work the jig. And if it's a good marabou jig, I don't need to work it much at all, because the good marabou does the work for you. Like it looks like, I'm going to call it a leech, but whatever that smallmouth thinks it is, that's what it is. And so, you know, and the better the marabou, and it's not just the quality of the marabou, but it's like the way Jeff does the density of the marabou, it just gets it to flow nicely in the water. So literally, for someone like me, I don't have to think about it. I make these long casts of this marabou jig. You know, I'm talking, I don't know, I'm probably casting it literally 100 feet on a light rod.
Yeah.
And I'm just turning the handle. And it's just coming in nice and slow, and they chew it up. And if it's a good marabou jig, and they last. Like, why do your jigs last so long? What do you do to make them last so long?
So over time, like your hair jig, if you don't have enough feathers in it, like obviously like over time they're gonna like lose feathers to smallmouth, if you can get caught in their teeth, and just overall wear and tear of a normal jig. But like one thing I do, I do multiple like layers of glue to like make sure the thread goes so like all hardens in there really nice. So like as I tie the feathers in, drop a glue. 2 more feathers later, drop a glue. So I find that helps make the hair just kind of like stay on better. And it's just overall how I tie it. Like I can't really explain it too well. Yeah. But it's just something you got to do.
Are you self-taught, Jeff? Like, did you teach yourself on how to do it?
Not necessarily. So I watched like lots of YouTube videos, like multiple times, just kind of, and I still do to this point, just to try and get. I'm
gonna try and show this here.
Oh yeah.
So we can.
Oh yeah.
Look at those thread wraps.
Yeah.
Like it's meticulous how he's done that. Like it's wild. And when you open these things out of a package, like I bet anyone, you compare this, and again, no offense to any marabou tires that we know, Jim. but honestly, like when you pull this one, and this is why Jim calls it fluff. Like, look at this, and when Jeff pulls it out of a pack for me, like it just poof. It's like I can't even tell you what, I don't know. It's like Stephanie, because she's got the crazy curly hair. If anyone's seen my daughter, like it's like sticking her head in the dryer, just poof, just pops right up. Like maybe one like the Stephanie signature series or something. Like, but there's so much marabou, and the quality of it, it's one of the fluffiest fluffs that I've ever.
Fluffiest fluffs. I love it.
Before I started using Jeff's jigs, I've used a lot, because I this has been the last 3 years. I can't have enough marabou around here. But I'll tell you that the way Jeff has done this is just incredible. That marabou on there.
And like one thing, so like all my jigs, like you can take them out of the pack and ready to fish. Like unlike other jigs in the market, no shade to any other company or person. Big Jim. I'm kidding. Big Jim's good jigs are very good. But like other big brands on the market that are being like mass produced like through the States, like most of them, we got to like modify your jigs. I'm talking like all jigs in general, whether it's like flipping jigs, spinner baits, swim jigs, chatterbaits, whatever it is. Mine, you can just take it out of the pack on the water, tie it on, and you're ready to go fishing. There's no modifications needed. So I find that helps the angler. So it's less time finagling and messing around with your bait on the water, and then more time fishing. Because like if you're someone who works 9 to 5 every single week and you only get the weekends to fish, like time on the water is very valuable. So wasting time is not good.
Now, can you explain? Now, there's a lot of anglers out there that don't really. This may seem simple to you, Jeff, but can you explain the difference between a bucktail jig and a marabou jig?
Yeah.
Because we see these jigs and people just think, oh, it's a hand-tied jig. What's the difference? It's a huge difference. Just explain the difference.
So there's multiple different types of hair on the market, but like the most like there's crafter, there's bear hair, there's fox. We're not going to dive into those. It's not as popular, but like a typical bucktail jig right here. That's a man, dropped it. Oh,
it's okay.
There we go.
It pretty good.
Yeah. So that's like really good for walleye and bucktail hair. Like out of the package, it's more stiff. If you guys can see that, but like if I brush it, it's very stiff. Marabou, like it's very lifelike and it flows very well, like not in the water, like just out in the air. The main difference is like bucktail, it's like a whole lot stiffer. Like I said, they both have 2 different types of actions in the water. I find like if you're bass fishing, bucktail is better in cold water scenarios, where Marabou is better in the warm water for bass. For walleye, pretty much year round, they're not too fussy like a smallmouth is, like how picky smallmouth are when they're eating. But yeah, then bucktail, they come from like a deer tail, so like typical where they get the name from bucktail. And marabou, it's just turkey feathers. It's just like neck feathers, so all around the turkey.
Cool stuff. I will say this, Jim, gets giddy sometimes when certain individuals that are in the elite series or, the high elite tournament trails use his fluff, order his fluff, or ask for his jigs. I got to ask you the same question. Are there any notables that use Jeff jigs that you're kind of proud to say, yeah, man, they're using my stuff?
Can't say all of them, but Matty Wong, so he's originated from Hawaii, so he has some of my stuff. Coop has some of my stuff too. Even though he's with Outcast, I gave him a whack previously before that sponsorship. A few other like New York guides, they have some of my stuff. Can't really say all of them. And another one that I have, well, 2 of them actually, but one's a Canadian, another Canadian, and another one's American. Both really good guys and
That's
2
awesome.
up and coming hammers.
Nice.
Awesome. Great job, man. As I said, we wish you all the luck in the world producing these jigs and continuing to produce excellence. And I'll tell you, with mentors like Big Jim around,
Actually,
your future looks very, very bright.
So highlight Corey put a comment in there about salmon and steelhead jigs.
So I don't have them with me, sadly. I forgot them at home. It's like one of the 3 things I forgot when I came here to Jason's, because we're going to be doing some ice fish the next few days on our exam break that Trevor and I have. But it's pretty close to my marabou, like my typical marabou jig for bass. They're going to come in 4 colors, available at King Cast, 16th and 8th ounce sizes. I'll be posting them shortly. So just like in the next few days, I'm going to start like releasing new products, just like day by day, and highlighting everything that I make. So stay tuned for that on the Jeff Jigs Instagram and Facebook page.
There's a question there. How many different colors can you do, Jeff?
Depends on the type of jig. But like bucktail, it's almost like opportunities are like endless. I can do almost any color pattern you want, whether it's like something simple like a perch pattern right here. That's in my spin missile, like an underspin hair jig. Or if it's like a simple black and red, I can do crazy color combos if you want to. For marabou, it's a little bit less options, but I can still do a whole bunch of different color combos for you guys.
Other than black, what are some colors of marabou that you like?
Other than black, brown is very good.
Yeah. As
well as olive. Around like a mayfly hatch, or if you guys have like some perch in your lake, definitely be throwing some olive around. If those bass are heavily perch eaters, like down here on the Great Lakes, those smallmouth, they eat a lot of like their bait fish and stuff too, and like gobies. But I find that just a black hair jig anywhere you go works very well. But there are days where they will be eating a brown and olive a little bit better.
Cool stuff. You're going to be at CanCast. Are there any other shows that people are going to have an opportunity here in Ontario to purchase?
Sadly not. I want to do one of the Made in Canada shows this year, like Kitchener or Chatham. But just with other conflictions, I cannot do them this year. So hopefully next year. But I want to have a big booth at CanCast and bring in 1,800 jigs. So yeah.
You don't want to go home with any. I get it.
Yeah.
We got a big reveal though, Scottie.
Yeah.
He's brought something now. I did mention it at the show for those that missed my seminar on Saturday, but this is probably the big reveal because this is a much bigger audience than the show on Saturday.
I've been teasing this one for a little bit since like New Year's, and I have like two more. I think one that's really sneaky. I'm gonna kind of wait till like March to release it. But yeah, so this right here is the Jeff's Jigs Rock Dog right here. So it's a finesse football jig. Really great for like the Great Lakes region for smallmouth. So it's your typical football jig without the bait keeper, but without the weed guard. Because most football jigs they're made for like rocks and weeds with like the weed guard. But this one's designed for a spinning rod. So it has a 2-aught hook in there, mustad hook, really sharp, as well as a hand-tied bait keeper. And one thing that I found with other finesse football jigs, I've tried various finesse football jigs in the market. I'm not going to name names, like brand names, but some of them they either had like a lead bait keeper, and they're not like a super strong bait keeper, like your plastic. It's like it's going to tear after time, or it's going to slide down. So I hand tie that bait keeper on, and it's not going to wiggle off. Like I've punctured my thumb many times trying to wiggle it. It's not going to wiggle. So that's a great thing about it. Matte paint on the head too, so there's like no shine to it.
Yeah.
So really good for stealth scenarios, like stealthy conditions. They come in 3 sizes: the 3/16, 5/16, and a 7/16. And 4 colors. So this is just a straight green pumpkin, right there. This one, copper craw or crayfish. I'm still deciding, but nice craw pattern right there. Orange belly, the jig head.
Nice.
Then I have a matte black here with like a little craw to show you guys how it'd be like rigged up.
Sweet.
So nice, tasty small snack. And this is green pumpkin, purple, copper. So there's a little bit of purple and copper flake in the skirt. So those are my top 4 finesse football jig smallmouth like colors that I can take anywhere across the Great Lakes regions in the Kawarthas and catch fish year round on them.
What's great about that size hook too is that with that size hook, so a lot of this is a bit of a growing trend, just like Marabou is. These finesse football jigs,
they've been winning tournaments on the St. Lawrence River for like the last 3 years, and they're just the popularity just going up. And it basically kind of like a heavy Ned rig with them, is what it is. It's just being because it looks like a little goby or like little crayfish just scooting along the bottom of all those lakes, like over the zebra mussels, the rocks, the sand, and they just seem to eat them up off the bottom like it's candy.
And what's cool too is that with a football head, I'm going to guess, because I haven't played around with a lot of football heads, but they're not as snaggy as a Ned rig because they roll more, right? Because they're gonna rock. And that hook shank to me, Jeff, is a perfect size because a lot of the baits you want to put on there are going to be this like sort of these like little micro, like little like 2 to 3 inch like crayfish imitating type baits, or like even like little like there's so many things you can put on there, but any of those small baits are going to fit on that 2-aught shank really well.
Yeah, like even like a 1-aught would work good too, because like I've used like a Great Lakes finesse snack rod, and that bait's 2.1 inches, so it's pretty tiny, like probably smaller than like the size of my pinky right there. And it pairs up really nicely on it. The flat cat as well, that's like 2.2 inches. I also like the juicy Helgramite from Great Lakes finesse. It's pretty good. And they also have another bait coming out too that pairs up really nice with it too. I just can't say a whole lot about it, but dropped another one.
Awesome.
So he's him and Trevor and Jeff are always scheming about new products, Scottie. So it's really cool to see these products like sort of come into fruition, and not just because Jeff's a great kid and I'm really proud of him and what he's doing. I want to catch more fish, dude. Like this is what it comes down to. We all want to catch more fish, and Jeff's making some great products that are going to help people land more fish. Absolutely,
that's awesome. Can you do a rapid fire for me, Jeff, real quick, when it comes to how to's? What you would purchase? So let's say your largemouth fishing, shallow water, lily pads. lots of cover, what would be your go-to of what you make?
Like a Jeff's jigs or like any lure in general?
Jeff's jigs.
Kind of hard to tell because most of my jigs, like they don't have a weed dirt in them. I'm going to pass on that one.
He's a
Let's
smallie
say-
guy.
I'm like a smallmouth.
All right, let's go to Smallie. So let's say
Oh, yeah.
small.
All right, that's much better.
Let's say
Large ones are
Smallie,
like
say about
I
80
like my
feet of
comfort-
water,
like
and
my
there's
little comfort zone. It made me nervous there, Scottie. I was getting cold and getting the chills. there for a
I
second.
torment him all the time because I know he doesn't like largemouth fishing. So I tease him. I randomly text him all the time largemouth jokes. Okay, start
Jeff,
him on the smallmouth.
Jay asked me to ask the question. It was all Jay's fault. No, I'm
I
just
would
kidding.
never do that.
So let's say smallmouth in 80 feet of water suspended. What are you gonna pitch?
Probably one of my new jigs coming out. I don't have any with me, but it's like a minnow head hair jig. So it's really great for like those suspended fish. You're probably gonna want like a half ounce or like a 3/4 just to get it down there for them. Like any minnow presentation, it's like a bit like has it been like a big thing with like the whole live scope, like a jig head minnow. That's one thing that I've done pretty well. Like I've been throwing a whole lot more hair jig style baits opposed to like a soft plastic and jig head, like an underspin. I'll be throwing kind of like this right here. I don't have any like in a bait fish pattern with me with Jay here, but like I'll throw instead of like an underspin and a swim bait, I'll throw like a white one in this, and I'll still catch them just as well.
If
But
you're
yeah.
pitching under a dock, are you pitching a football jig with a craw plastic on the end? What would you be using when it comes to dock
For a
situation?
dock, because it's heavy cover, I'd probably kind of stick away from like a football head just because it's like much wider. I won't come through like the docks because like all docks are different. Like some of them it's gonna have a whole lot of like brush and like a whole lot of crap underneath, like metal posts and wire and like rebarb and stuff. So very snaggy stuff. I'd probably pitch a hair jig underneath there, just because it's a whole lot stealthier. It's a whole lot lighter, and like a hair jig, like I make them in a 16th ounce, 332 and an 8. So they're like very light, Scotties. So it makes it great for target casting. So I do that a whole lot, like on Lake Erie. So I'll be staying on top of my kayak or up on top of the boat, and just trying to see like where like all the smallmouth are, and I'll like kind of flip it to them, or like I'll do a big bomb cast. But yeah, probably a hair jig. I think that's pretty sneaky that no one's been doing a whole lot.
Hair jigs being I would say a reactionary bite. Obviously, early season when fish are first hungry, pitching a hair jig, no matter what species.
It's a good reaction bait too. Up in the
100%.
course.
So if you're talking season, so early season, obviously bucktail for me, it would be obviously the same for you. But as the season goes on, are you now leaning more towards a football style jig head? And then when do you start to throw the fluff? Is it later on in the year, or do you throw it all year round?
So like you can throw the fluff year round and caught fish. Like Trevor, he was out in Lake Erie in November. Like then he sent me pictures of catching like smallmouth on hair. They weren't big ones, but I was pulling hair out of my head saying, how is he catching smallmouth on hair jigs in November? It just kind of made me think a little bit. But
So there's the short story to that is Jeff told us you can't catch fish on hair on fluff after Labor Day.
something like that. Yeah.
Basically, yeah. So when Trevor went out with Nolan, right,
Yeah.
in the fall with Simon, I said, you make sure you bring a Jeff's jigs out with you and with Simon's boat in November, and you got to catch a smallmouth on fluff, and they did. And I'm like,
No way.
Yeah. But
Wow.
it goes to show how the faith I have in these things. Like these
Yeah.
things can be used. I still believe though the shallow,
Agreed.
like for like that 4-month period, basically from opener until probably around late September, is probably the best time to get them,
Yeah.
when the water temperature is still like in the 60s and up. Once
Yeah.
you get to below, I think that it will slow them down a little bit. They're not going to be as keen on it, but it is a great bait year round for a lot of these fish in the right place.
So I'm
Amen.
gonna kind of talk for walleye here. So bucktails are like a year-round thing, like right from walleye opener up till even to like that walleye closure, like even like the Detroit River, like my jumbo jig here. You guys, you can use that like Detroit River, St. Clair River, as because I believe that walleye season's open year-round. So you can be using this thing February catching fish, June, August, December, and still catch fish year-round on that. Like even if like a banana bucktail jig, just ripping it through the weeds year round, finding green weeds and walleye will be in there. But for smallmouth, Like a hair jig, it plays. Like I've seen guys catch them and end of March, like as ice out on it. That's like all New York waters mostly with their season, because I'm in Niagara, so I usually scoot out to the New York side of like Buffalo area and do some fishing there. But April to, I'll say, mid-August is when I find the hair jig is dominant. From like mid-August to like where Jay said like end of September, it's also still good to do. I like to throw a hair jig. It wouldn't be like my number one bait of choice though. I'd still have one tied on. But yeah.
Awesome. So Joe beat me to it, and I was thinking more streamers, but super pop bars, anything top water. Are you right now hand tying any streamers or anything that would be considered a top water bait?
So I do not tie a top water. Like I tie streamers for trout that are like for the Niagara River. I don't like advertise them or like show them off a whole lot, but like I have a few guys per year like they'll ask me, hey Jeff, can you tie me a bunch of streamers for the Niagara River? Because we bottom bounce for them, like 3-way rigs. So you have like your weight and like your spinnerbait swivel, and like over here is like your rod, then you have like your 4 to 5 6 foot long leader to like your streamer. So I get those a whole lot. I don't really tie a top water. Like I tie a feathered treble hook, so that those are pretty popular top water to like on your back hooks or like for like jerk baits or crankbaits. I tie those too. I'm revamping them on tying on Gamakatsu hooks, so they'll be also at CanCast as a lot of whole other products too.
That's awesome. Corey, I would imagine for saltwater, and I know you like your striper fishing, streamers are probably your best bet of what Jeff has in his arsenal. So definitely reach out to him. And of course, without asking, we will say that Jeff is in high school, and we'll leave it at that in terms of how old he is. But yes, great speaker, great wealth of knowledge. And of course, you are surrounded by that in the Barnucz house. You're a lucky man.
he's in Fishing Room Central. There's literally wall-to-wall fishing stuff in there.
Yep, there's ice fishing stuff over here because going ice fishing tomorrow. There's bass stuff still out from last year. Still, we're in the
every corner, everywhere.
Barnucz Family Tackle Shop, Delhi, Ontario. Come visit. Open tomorrow.
Don't tell Heather will open the door. Don't say that. Don't say that.
Just to get it out. That's well, right. Gents, sorry, Jay. Jeff has done such a formidable job here, a phenomenal job, I should say. And I will say that it hasn't left us a lot of time to talk about anything that you wanted to talk about. But was there anything that you wanted to add? That's it.
Well,
that's
I do want to. All right. I got to talk about this. Jeff literally is making this, like, this is one of his, I'm going to say, custom for me.
Another new product at CanCast.
And this is going to be, so this is like a crap. Well, wrong side. This is basically a little panfish jig.
Wow.
It is beautiful. So we're going ice fishing this week. Okay. So not only are we, so the boys had exams, they need to decompress. We're going to do a couple days of ice fishing. Now, Scottie, the wind out there is not helping our ice fishing plan. So we're not going first thing in the morning. We wanted to, but we're going to wait. I got my local guides. They're going to fill me in on where and it's all about safety, everyone, just so they know, like, even though there's been lots of ice, there's a lot of heaving and hoeing going on outside, but we want to do some field testing with some of these new
panty
slammers, right? So
beautiful.
It's beautiful. Honestly, and I can't wait to catch a big crappie on this tomorrow. I really can't. So we're going to get out and do some of this next 2 days, do some bluegill and crappie is the plan. We are going to go for perch, but I think the inner bay is going to need a couple days to rest after all that wind. So that's what we're going to work on. And yeah, dude, Scottie, we'll catch up next week. Jeff filled in my segment really well. So we're good, man.
Phenomenal job. Jeff, we look forward to seeing what else you're going to come up with. Certainly the new inventions that you're going to unveil at CanCast or thereafter. But needless to say, keep up the great work, kid. You're doing some phenomenal stuff.
Yeah, and follow Jeff. Follow Jeff on Instagram.
Yeah,
Jeff Jigs. He's very busy on Instagram, and check out his products, guys. Like once CanCast is over, he does do custom orders and stuff. But you have slowed
year-round.
You've slowed down now just because you're preparing for CanCast. That's his Super Bowl, right?
Yep, CanCast. Like, so I can take orders. I can't guarantee like when they'll be done because I'm like trying to stockpile for CanCast the moment, get as much stuff for all the 5, 6, 7,000 people that are going to be there because Kyle, Leanne, Mark, Hunter, Sean McCall. So they put on a great show. They put countless hours into that show every year, planning it, getting vendors, contacting like the Peter Memorial Center just to make it all happen for us vendors. And like Kyle says, it's all about the vendors. You want to make sure the vendors are all happy and everything because it's all about vendors first, he says. What I think it's really, really good. Just like your show too. Always want to make sure the vendors are happy.
Couldn't have said it better.
Vendors, no show.
Well done, buddy. Well done. Tip of the hat to you, my friend. Jay, thanks so much for this. Thanks for putting it together. Thanks for being you. And of course, we will hopefully see you on the flip side.
Hopefully, we'll have some ice fishing reports for next week, Scotty. All right.
Catch me a whale, guys. Catch me a whale.
We'll do it. Thank you.
See you later.
See you guys.
Peace. Always an honor to speak with Jay and of course Jeff. He's doing some wonderful things, and I want to thank everybody for chiming in, asking some great questions. Jeff is very articulate and certainly has the same passion as a lot of us when it comes to talking about fishing. So it was an honor to have him on here, and of course we look forward to seeing what he's going to come up with in the future. In the meantime, folks, it is going to be a blustery couple of days. I don't believe that the wind is supposed to die down until later tomorrow. But that's for those in Ontario. For those of you out west that are enjoying some balmy temperatures, continue to do so. You've got your 20 inches of ice, 30 inches of ice, depending on where you are. And of course, to all the CFNers that are going to be attending the Canarsie Ice Jam out in Saskatchewan this coming weekend, we look forward to all the videos, all the lives, and of course, all of the stories that can and can't be told on a live and in public. But needless to say, they're going to have an awful lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that. We will have a show Wednesday, I believe. I'm not 100% sure who's going to be on it. If not, it will be returning the following week. But until then, guys, enjoy yourselves. Get out, enjoy your fishing. Get out, enjoy the outdoors. Get out, enjoy each other. Look forward to seeing all of your posts, all of your content, and everything else that you bring to our community on the regular. Until then, till next Monday anyway, have yourselves a great week. Love you all. Dave, it's time to take us away. Peace.
Well, as much as I hate to admit it, I guess we've run out of time. So I've enjoyed it, but I'm going to do something I haven't done since season 1. Turn out the lights, the party's over. They say that all good things must end.